Hello, my name is Lynn Barnhouse, and for my kitchen science final, I'm going to make Spanish flan. So before I begin making this dish, I need to ensure that my kitchen is clean and sanitary for use. So to do this, I first removed any crumbs or debris I saw in my workplace, and then used Lysol to disinfect the area. I then washed my hands, and like in my midterm video, I got out the ingredients before I began my preparation so that I prevented any recontamination of my hands on a cabinet, fridge, while working. So the ingredients used in this recipe are sugar, eggs, sweetened condensed milk, evaporated milk, and vanilla extract. So I'm going to wash my hands again, and I'll explain each ingredient's role as we proceed. So first I'm going to caramelize my 1 cup of sugar. I'm going to put it in the pan. I'm going to turn it to medium heat. So table sugar, which I'm going to use 1 cup of, is a non-reducing disaccharide called sucrose. So being a disaccharide, it is composed of 2 monosaccharides, glucose and fructose, which are bonded together at their reducing atoms since they're both reducing sugars. So when heat is added, which I'm doing, sucrose is broken down into fructose and glucose, and their reducing nature is evident immediately. So being a reducer, they give electrons to other molecules, leading to new compounds, which causes a change in smell and color. So granulated sugar, which this is going to melt at 320 degrees and begins to caramelize at 338 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm mixing it as I go, just kind of swirling it to ensure a homogeneous mixture results at the end, and none of it burns, and it's just kind of the heat is evenly distributed. I'm going to really start to stir it when the edges start to melt. So once it becomes a thin liquid, it's going to start to smoke and bubble and should then be removed from the heat and poured into the pan. So as you can see, the edges of the pan, the sugar have started to melt. So at this point, it's really important to keep on stirring so that the heat is evenly distributed. So the caramelization process has really started to take place now as it's melting at a very rapid pace, and a lot of it is almost completely caramelized, so we're just waiting for the rest of the chunks to melt and caramelize as well. Alright, we're about 3/4 of the way through, and as you can see, it's almost completely melted, so I'm just continuously stirring now so it's thoroughly heated. Alright, as you can see, the sugar is now purely glucose and fructose, as there are no more chunks and it's all brown and very aromatic. It's also starting to bubble, so right now I'm going to pour it immediately into the pan. I'm going to bake it in. I'm just going to wiggle the pan around to make sure it's evenly coated on the bottom. So now I'm going to beat my 3 eggs together. So as we learned in the emulsifier lecture, eggs have a role as an emulsifier because they have hydrophilic heads and hydrophobic tails. So this is going to allow the heads to bind with the water and the tails to bind with the oil to create a uniform mixture. When heated, the egg proteins are going to slowly unwind and form a coil shape and elongate. So now they're going to be chains of amino acids that are kind of dispersed in the mixture. This is why the hydrophobic hydrophilic nature is important, because the proteins are then going to be able to catch on to each other in a more randomized way to form a gel, which is going to thicken the mixture. So essentially a protein web's going to kind of be formed, and the egg proteins are going to form this network that's going to trap the liquid, which is going to be the milk, and create a gel. So I'm going to beat these together. And now I'm going to beat in my sweetened condensed milk. And milk, although it's not structurally as important as the egg, does contribute to the viscosity of the gel in the finished product, because it's going to contribute to the thickness of the custard, as those made with oil or skim milk will not gel or thicken. So I'm going to beat this in. And now I'm going to beat in my evaporated milk. And the calcium ions present in the milk are also important because they're going to be needed in the formation of a thicker custard, because, as I said before, the ones made with skim milk or water will not gel or thicken. So milk's going to dilute the egg protein so it's less viscous, and the gel strength, because if you have a different proportion of milk and eggs, the thickness of the gel is going to change. So the milk also contributes salts, which are important for gelatination to occur, along with a small amount of protein. So the sweetness of the milk is important because the addition of it in the recipe results in a sweeter custard. And lastly, I'm going to add my 1 tablespoon of vanilla in. So the vanilla plays a pretty simple role in this recipe versus its role in true baking, because here it purely infuses flavors into the cream. In baking, such as cookies, we learn that the vanilla not only adds flavorings, but in fact serves as the acidic agent for baking soda to work in order for leavening to occur, because the reaction forms carbon dioxide, which causes the airiness within the bread. So I'm going to mix this all up. Now I'm going to put my egg mixture over the caramelized sugar. I'm then going to cover my flan mixture up with foil and put it in 1 inch of hot water to ensure a more even heat is distributed when baking. So I'm going to bake it at 350 degrees for 60 minutes and let cool completely. So it's really important not to heat this too quickly, because the hydrophobic molecules will clump together if it's heated too quickly and then separate without separating themselves entirely from the liquid, which is going to form a very curdled, lumpy flan, which is not desired. So you need to heat the custard slowly without overheating it to stop the denaturation from happening too quickly or going too far. Here's my finished flan, and I ensured that it was done cooking because I put a knife through it, and when it came out clean I knew that full gelatinization occurred. So then I let it cool for 1 hour, cut a piece, and then flipped it over and drizzled it with extra sugar. Thank you.